Wait, hold up. You're telling me that the same countries that Netflix documentaries call happiness havens, you know, those Instagram-perfect Nordic places with their cozy Hygge lifestyle, also have some of the highest suicide rates on Earth? Like, we're talking about the same Denmark, Finland, and Sweden that consistently rank in the top 5 happiest countries, according to the World Happiness Report. But where people are, well, ending their lives at rates that would shock you? I'm about to blow your mind with 12 psychological secrets that even happiness researchers tried to bury. And I guarantee these next 15 minutes will completely transform how you think about happiness, success, and what it actually means to live a fulfilling life. Because what I discovered researching this will make you question everything you thought you knew about having it all. So here's the thing. I used to be one of those people scrolling through Scandinavian lifestyle blogs at 2 a.m., thinking, man, if I could just move to Copenhagen and drink coffee in those minimalist cafes, I'd finally be happy. Everyone thinks Nordic happiness comes from their perfect work-life balance, free healthcare, and those adorable wooden houses. But here's what actually happens when you dig into the psychological research. We've been measuring happiness completely wrong this entire time. Everyone thinks more social services equals happier people. But here's what actually happens. Sometimes the very systems designed to make us happy create the exact opposite effect, like having the world's most comfortable prison cell. Everyone thinks these countries have figured out the secret to mental health. But here's what actually happens. They've accidentally created a psychological pressure cooker that would make a New York City executive sweat. And trust me, by the time we're done here, you'll understand why your Instagram feed has been lying to you about what happiness actually looks like. Picture this. You're taking a survey about your life satisfaction. The researcher asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life? Now, if you're from Minnesota, basically America's Nordic cousin, you're going to say what? Probably a solid 7 or 8, right? Because that's what good, humble Midwesterners do. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The World Happiness Report. You know, the thing that puts Nordic countries at the top every single year, it's basically measuring how well people fit into their cultural expectations, not actual happiness. Think of it like this. It's like rating restaurants based on how clean their bathrooms are instead of how good the food tastes. You might have the most sanitized bathroom in town, but if your burger tastes like cardboard, are you really the best restaurant? Nordic cultures have this thing called jante law. Basically, don't think you're special, don't stand out, be satisfied with enough. So when researchers ask, how's your life? Nordic people are culturally programmed to say, fine, thanks, even if they're drowning inside. Have you ever been to a family dinner where everyone's pretending everything's perfect while Uncle Bob's clearly having a breakdown? That's basically what's happening on a national scale. But wait, it gets mind-bendingly interesting. You think that was shocking? Prepare to have your world rocked. Imagine living in a society where every single basic need is met. Healthcare? Check. Education? Check. Job security? Check. Housing? Check. Sounds like paradise, right? Well, here's the plot twist that'll mess with your head. When survival is guaranteed, your brain starts hunting for meaning. And when you can't find it, that's when the darkness creeps in. It's like winning the lottery, and then realizing money doesn't actually solve the existential crisis you've been avoiding. Except in Nordic countries, the entire society won the societal lottery, and everyone's walking around like, now what? American psychologist Martin Seligman calls this the hedonic treadmill, but in Nordic countries, they've built the world's most comfortable treadmill, and people are running themselves to death on it. In Finland, they have a concept called sisu, basically, grit and determination in the face of adversity. But what happens when there's no adversity left to face? When your biggest daily challenge is choosing between 47 types of organic yogurt At the grocery store? If you've ever felt lost after achieving everything you thought you wanted, you'll understand exactly what's happening here. Your brain literally needs challenges to produce dopamine and serotonin, the happiness chemicals. Remove the struggle, and you remove the triumph. It's like playing a video game with all the cheat codes activated. Fun for about 5 minutes, then absolutely meaningless. Now here's where it gets absolutely mind-bendingly interesting. You know how Americans are always comparing themselves to celebrities and billionaires? Well, that's actually psychologically healthier than what happens in Nordic countries. Bear with me here. When you're comparing yourself to Jeff Bezos or Beyoncé, your brain knows it's not a realistic comparison. It's like comparing your cooking to Gordon Ramsay's. Obviously different leagues. No real pressure. But in Nordic countries, everyone's supposed to be equal. Everyone gets the same opportunities, same education, same social safety net. So when your neighbor Lars gets a promotion and you don't, well, now that hits different. Because theoretically, you should be exactly as successful as Lars, right? It's like being on a basketball team where everyone's the exact same height, athletic ability, and training. But somehow one person keeps scoring more points. In your mind, there's no logical reason why that should happen. So it must be because you suck. American researchers found that Nordic people experience what they call relative deprivation more intensely than people in more unequal societies. Wild, right? Think Netflix's algorithm. In the US, it's like people who watch this also watched, giving you tons of variety. But in Nordic countries, it's like everyone gets recommended the exact same 5 shows, and if you don't love all 5, clearly something's wrong with you. Before I tell you the answer, what do you think happens when an entire society gaslights itself into believing everyone should be equally happy? You think that was crazy? This next one will make you question everything you thought you knew. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Nordic countries don't just have high suicide rates. They have them during their happy seasons, not the dark winters everyone blames. Everyone's heard about seasonal affective disorder, right? Those brutal Nordic winters with like 3 hours of sunlight. But plot twist, suicide rates actually spike during spring and early summer when the days are longest. It's like your brain's version of false advertising. All winter, you're telling yourself, I'll be happy when the sun comes back. Then the sun comes back, everyone else seems to be thriving in their linen outfits and outdoor cafes, and you're still not happy. That's when the real existential crisis hits. American psychiatrist K. Redfield Jamison discovered that this happens because light exposure can actually trigger manic episodes in people predisposed to mood disorders. But here's the kicker. In Nordic countries, seeking mental health help is seen as admitting you can't handle the perfect life you've been given. It's like being the only person who can't figure out how to use the latest iPhone when everyone keeps saying how intuitive it is. You start thinking the problem isn't the phone, it's you. We've all been there. You're scrolling through Instagram when everyone's posting their perfect summer vacation pics while you're lying in bed eating cereal for dinner. In Nordic countries, that feeling is amplified by 1,000 because the social expectation is that you should be grateful, content, and fulfilled. Always. But wait, it gets absolutely insane. You've probably seen those viral videos about Nordic work culture. Swedes take coffee breaks together. Norwegians have mandatory vacation. Danes bike everywhere and chat with neighbors. Here's what those videos don't show you: the psychological pressure of forced community. Imagine your mom organizing a playdate for you every single day until you're 35. Sounds suffocating, right? That's basically what happens when society mandates social connection. Nordic countries have incredibly high rates of what psychologists call social exhaustion, basically being peopled out but having no socially acceptable way to opt out. It's like being at a family reunion that never ends, where leaving early makes you the weird antisocial cousin. American culture, for all its flaws, gives you permission to be a hermit if you want. You can order DoorDash, work from home, and Netflix binge for weeks without anyone staging an intervention. In Nordic countries? Good luck with that. They have this concept called Hygge in Denmark, cozy togetherness. But what happens if you don't want to be cozy? What if forced coziness makes you want to scream? If you've ever felt trapped at a party where everyone's having the best time ever except you, multiply that by living in a society where the party never ends. It's like being forced to be an extrovert when your brain is wired for introversion. Eventually, something's got to give. All right, so now you know why the happiest countries on Earth are psychologically struggling. But what does this mean for you? Here are 5 methods you can start using today to build actual happiness instead of society's fake version. Method 1. The struggle sandwich. Intentionally create meaningful challenges in your life. Not Instagram-worthy challenges, real ones. Learn a difficult skill, take on a project that scares you, or commit to something that requires genuine effort. Your brain needs to earn its dopamine hits. Start this week. Pick one challenging thing and commit to 30 days. Method 2. Permission to be imperfect. Stop measuring your happiness against other people's highlight reels. Nordic countries prove that external perfection doesn't equal internal peace. Give yourself permission to have bad days, weird feelings, and an imperfect life. Success indicator is when you can say, "I'm struggling today," without immediately trying to fix it. Method 3. The meaning audit. Ask yourself, what would I do if I couldn't fail and nobody was watching? Nordic people often lose this because survival needs are met, but meaning needs aren't. Write down 3 things that feel meaningful to you personally, not socially acceptable. Method 4. Controlled social exposure. You don't need to be on all the time. Create boundaries around social energy. It's okay to decline invitations, need alone time, or prefer small groups. Fear of missing out and people-pleasing. Remember that forcing community creates resentment, not connection. Method 5. Redefine success metrics. Stop using happiness as the primary goal. Nordic research shows that pursuing meaning, growth, and contribution creates more life satisfaction than pursuing happiness directly. List 3 ways you contribute to something bigger than yourself. Now you possess knowledge most people will never have. You understand why the world's happiest countries are struggling with the very thing they're supposed to have mastered. While your friends are still chasing that perfect Hygge lifestyle they saw on Pinterest, you're already building something more real. You know that true satisfaction comes from embracing struggle, accepting imperfection, and creating meaning rather than consuming happiness. You're now one of the few who truly gets it, that paradise on paper can be psychological prison in reality, that external metrics don't measure internal experience, that sometimes the most privileged people are the most lost. The Nordic happiness paradox isn't really about Nordic countries at all. It's about what happens when we optimize for comfort instead of purpose, when we measure satisfaction instead of meaning, when we prioritize security over growth. A year from now, you'll thank yourself for understanding this distinction. While others are still confused about why achieving their goals didn't make them happy, you'll be busy building a life that actually feels fulfilling, messy, imperfect, challenging, and real. Because now you know the secret that Nordic countries accidentally discovered. True happiness isn't a destination. It's the byproduct of a meaningful journey. And sometimes, the most beautiful-looking destinations are exactly where you don't want to end up.